15 years had passed since the rejection. Jake Morrison floated in the observation deck of Unity Station and watched the construction happening below. The shipyard stretched across 200 cubic kilometers of space. Scaffolding and work pods swarmed around a massive shape that was slowly taking form, metal beams locked into place. Hull plates were welded together. Weapons systems were installed in rows along the spine of something that had never existed before. The door behind him opened with a soft hiss. Dr. Helen Cross pushed herself through in the zero gravity. Her hair was gray now, but her eyes were still sharp. She had been a junior engineer when Jake left for the Council. Now she directed Earth's entire space program. Beautiful, is she not? Helen's voice carried pride and something darker. Something almost like anger. The Defiance. Jake read the name painted across the hull. They will see that as a provocation. Helen laughed without humor. Good, let them be provoked. They wanted us contained. They wanted us to suffocate quietly in our little corner of space. Instead, we built this. Jake studied the ship more carefully. It was massive. Easily 3 times the size of the exploration vessels Earth had planned before the ban. But the design was wrong. The lines were too aggressive. The weapon ports too numerous. The armor too thick. This was not a ship built to explore. What exactly are we building here, Helen? She pulled up a holographic display between them. It showed a map of the solar system. Blue dots marked human facilities. There were hundreds of them. Mars had a colony of 50,000 people. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn hosted mining operations. The asteroid belt was dotted with automated extraction platforms. Humanity had spread throughout its home system like a virus. We are building warships. Helen's voice was matter of fact. Not exploration vessels, not cargo haulers. Warships. Because the Council taught us an important lesson. In this galaxy, power is the only thing that matters. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. We are preparing for war. We are preparing to survive. Helen zoomed the map out to show nearby star systems. Red lines marked Council patrol routes. They circled Sol like prison bars. The Council controls everything. Trade routes, resources, habitable worlds. They have it all, and they decided humanity deserves nothing. So we adapted. We innovated. We became strong enough that they cannot ignore us anymore. She pulled up another display. This one showed technical specifications that made Jake's head spin. Reactor designs, weapon systems, shield technologies. All of it was far beyond what Earth had possessed 15 years ago. How did we advance so quickly? Necessity. Helen's smile was bitter. When you tell humanity something is impossible, we take it as a challenge. When you lock us in a cage, we spend every waking moment figuring out how to break the bars. We had the best minds on Earth working on nothing but this problem. How to build better engines, how to generate more power, how to protect our ships and hurt theirs. And we succeeded, beyond our wildest projections. The Defiance is just the first. We have 12 more hulls under construction in lunar orbit. Mars is building their own shipyard. By this time next year, we will have a fleet. Jake looked at the warship taking shape below them. A fleet, to fight an empire that spans thousands of worlds, not to fight them directly. We cannot win that war, but we can make them bleed. We can make every attempt to remove us cost more than we are worth. We can become the thorn in their side that they cannot afford to dig out. The hologram shifted again. This time it showed projections. Population curves rising. Resource extraction increasing. Fleet strength growing. In every metric, humanity was expanding at a rate the Council had not seen in millennia. We are not just building ships, Jake. We are building a future. The Council wanted us to stay small and manageable. Instead, we are becoming something they fear. Jake was quiet for a long moment. When do we make our move? 2 years. The Defiance will be completed. The fleet will be ready. And then we cross the heliosphere boundary. We break the quarantine. We show the Council that humans do not accept cages. They will try to stop us. Of course they will. They have patrol ships stationed at the boundary. They scan every vessel that approaches. But the Defiance is not like our old ships. She is faster, stronger, armed with weapons the Council has never seen. And she will not be alone. Helen pulled up one more display. This one showed hundreds of ships. Not warships. Civilian vessels. Colony ships. Cargo haulers. Transports packed with families and supplies and everything needed to build new worlds. When the Defiance crosses the boundary, she will not be invading Council space. She will be heading toward the spaces they ignore, the worlds they deemed worthless, the systems they never bothered to survey. And behind her will come everyone who wants to leave Earth, everyone who refuses to live in a cage, everyone willing to risk everything for a chance at freedom. Jake stared at the display. It was madness. It was brilliant. It was exactly what humanity did best. You think we can actually do this? Helen met his eyes. I know we can. The Council is old, Jake. Ancient. They have been doing things the same way for 50,000 years. They are comfortable, complacent. They think they know everything about warfare and technology and civilization. And we are going to prove them wrong. We are going to show them what young, hungry, desperate humans can accomplish when you threaten our survival. We are going to take everything they said was impossible and make it real. And we are going to do it all while they watch from behind their precious boundary markers. The construction continued below them. Welding torches flared. Hull plates locked into place. The defiance grew stronger with each passing day. And throughout the solar system, hundreds of other ships were being built. Thousands of people were preparing to leave the only world humanity had ever known. The Council had tried to bury them, but as Jake had said 15 years ago, they did not know humanity was seeds. And now those seeds were about to bloom into something the galaxy had never expected. Helen pushed off toward the door. I need to check on the lunar facilities. Will you be staying? Jake nodded. I want to watch her a while longer. She is beautiful in a terrible sort of way. That is humanity in a nutshell. Beautiful and terrible and absolutely unwilling to quit. The Council is going to learn that the hard way. She left and Jake remained floating in the observation deck. He thought about the long journey home 15 years ago. He thought about the riots that had broken out when news of the ban reached Earth. He thought about the governments that had fallen, the chaos that had threatened to tear humanity apart. But from that chaos they had found unity. Not the false unity of peace and cooperation, the real unity of shared purpose, shared anger, shared determination to prove the Council wrong. In 2 years the defiance would cross the boundary. In 2 years humanity would break its chains. In 2 years the galaxy would learn what it had created when it tried to cage an entire species. Jake smiled as he watched the warship below. The Council thought they had contained a threat. Instead they had forged a weapon. They thought they had buried a dangerous species. Instead they had planted seeds that would grow into an empire, and when those seeds finally bloomed, the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Ryan Foster had been a cargo pilot before the ban. He had run supplies between Earth and the lunar mining colonies. Simple, honest, safe work. Now he sat in the command chair of the Defiance and prepared to potentially start an interstellar war. The bridge hummed with quiet activity around him. Screens displayed data streams that updated constantly. The crew moved with practiced efficiency at their stations. They had trained for 2 years for this moment. Every simulation, every drill, every contingency plan, all of it led to right now status report. Ryan's voice was steady despite the adrenaline singing through his veins. All systems green, Captain. Lieutenant Amy Chen spoke from the engineering station. Reactors at 90% and holding. Weapons armed but safeties engaged. Hull integrity optimal. We are ready. Navigation confirms we are 3 million kilometers from the heliosphere boundary. Commander Greg Palmer studied his screens. Council patrol vessel detected. Standard picket ship class. They are hailing us. Ryan took a slow breath. Put them through. The main view screen flickered and an alien face appeared. Velkari. Ryan recognized the crystalline features. The same species that had delivered humanity's sentence 15 years ago. The translator rendered its words in emotionless English. Human vessel, you are in violation of Council decree. Turn back immediately or you will be destroyed. This is Captain Ryan Foster of the Earthship Defiance. We are not turning back. We are not attacking. We are leaving our home system. You have no authority to stop us. The Council has every authority. Your species accepted the quarantine terms. Ryan felt anger flare hot in his chest. We accepted nothing. You imposed it. You decided that humanity should be locked away. You decided we should suffocate in our own system, while you control the galaxy. Well, we are done suffocating. You have 30 seconds to alter course. Negative. We are coming through. The connection cut. On the tactical display, the Council ship moved into an intercept position. Ryan watched it with a predator's focus. Every movement, Every course correction. The alien ship was fast and well armed, but it had been built using technology that had not changed in 10,000 years. Weapons hot. Ryan's voice was calm. But do not fire unless fired upon. I want them to throw the first punch. The Defiance surged forward. Her engines pushed her toward the boundary, at speeds that should have been impossible for human technology. The Council ship fired a warning shot. A beam of concentrated energy passed within 500 meters of their hull. Close enough to be a serious threat. Close enough to justify what came next. They are locking weapons. Amy's hands danced across her console. Multiple targeting sensors active. They are preparing to fire for real. Ryan gripped the armrests of his chair. Evasive pattern Delta. Show them what human pilots can do. The Defiance rolled and her profile shifted from a massive target to a narrow wedge. The maneuver was impossible by Council standards. Ships that large should not be able to turn that quickly. But human engineers had spent 15 years finding ways to break the rules the Council thought were absolute. The Council ship fired again, but Ryan had already anticipated the shot. The energy beam carved through empty space where they had been a second earlier. The alien vessel began to adjust, but human reflexes were faster than alien computers. Return fire. Ryan's voice was ice. Disable their weapons only. I do not want casualties if we can avoid them. The Defiance's railgun spoke with a sound that was more felt than heard. Hypersonic projectiles crossed the distance in fractions of a second. The Council ship's shields flared brilliant blue and held, but their weapon arrays sparked and went dark under the kinetic assault. Their shields are adapting. Amy's voice held a note of warning. Those systems have protected them from Council weapons for thousands of years. They are learning how to stop our attacks. Then we adapt faster. Ryan leaned forward. Switch to missiles. Let them try to track something with evasive capabilities. The missiles streaked away from the Defiance in a cloud of exhaust. Each one jinked and weaved on independent AI guidance. The Council ship tried to shoot them down with point defense systems, but without their main weapons they could only watch as the warheads closed the distance. The explosions blossomed against their hull in flowers of fire, and the enemy ship went dark. Drifting but intact, scan for casualties. Ryan waited while Amy checked her sensors. No casualties detected. Life support is stable. Their crew is secure. We just knocked them offline. Ryan let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. Good. Then let us finish this. Take us through the boundary. The Defiance accelerated and Ryan watched as humanity's cage fell away behind them. They were through. They were free. For the first time in 15 years, a human ship had crossed the heliosphere boundary without permission. Captain, you need to see this. Amy's voice had gone tight. Ryan looked at the tactical display and felt his stomach drop. Not one ship, not 10. Dozens, hundreds. Council vessels from a dozen different species all converging on their position. They had been waiting. This was a trap. They knew we were coming. Greg's voice was quiet. They set an ambush. Ryan stared at the overwhelming force arrayed against them. For a moment, doubt crept in, cold and suffocating. What had they done? What had he done? One ship against hundreds. It was suicide. Then another signal appeared on the sensors, and another, Captain. Amy's voice held wonder now. It is the fleet. The entire fleet. They are coming through. Ryan pulled up the visual feed and felt his throat tighten with emotion. The Defiance was not alone. 12 warships crossed the boundary behind them. Each one bore a name humanity had chosen with care. Vengeance, resolve, indomitable, freedom, unity, determination. Every vessel they had built over the last 2 years, all of them crossing, together, and beyond the warships something else appeared. Colony ships. Hundreds of them, thousands. Civilian vessels packed with families and supplies and hope. They streamed through the heliosphere in a cascade of dry flares that lit up the darkness like stars being born. They are evacuating. Ryan realized the scope of what he was seeing. Everyone who wanted to leave Earth. Everyone willing to risk everything for freedom. They are all coming through right now, and the Council cannot stop them all. Greg's voice held grim satisfaction. They can destroy some of us, but not all of us. The fleet will protect the colony ships. Some will get through. Enough will get through. Ryan opened a channel to all vessels. His voice carried to every ship in the growing exodus. All ships, this is the Defiance. Welcome to the rest of the galaxy. Stay in formation. Protect the colony ships. We are finding ourselves a new home and no one is going to stop us. The Council fleet moved to intercept, but they were caught off guard. They had expected one ship, maybe a dozen. They had not prepared for thousands. The warships formed a protective screen around the colony vessels. When Council ships tried to attack, they met coordinated fire from multiple human vessels. The battle was short and brutal. Human ships used tactics no one had seen before. They moved in coordinated swarms. They shared targeting data in real time. They adapted to enemy shields faster than the shields could adapt to them. Council vessels that had not faced real combat in centuries found themselves outmaneuvered and overwhelmed. The Council fleet broke. Not destroyed, but scattered. They pulled back to regroup and reassess. And in that moment of confusion, the human exodus surged forward into open space. The cage was broken. The chains were shattered. Humanity was free. Ryan watched his tactical display as the fleet moved into formation around the colony ships. Thousands of vessels all heading toward star systems the Council had deemed worthless, worlds they had never bothered to survey, space they had ignored for millennia. Set course for the frontier. Ryan's voice was firm. We are going to find worlds the Council never wanted. We are going to build something they never expected. And we are going to show them that banning humanity was the biggest mistake they ever made. The Defiance led the way into the unknown. Behind her came the hopes and dreams of millions. People who refused to live in a cage. People who would rather risk everything than accept nothing. People who proved that when you try to contain humans, you do not get compliance. You get revolution. The galaxy was vast and ancient and indifferent, but it was about to learn that indifference works both ways. Humanity did not need the Council's approval, did not need their permission, did not need their recognition. All humanity needed was freedom. And now they had it. Part 4. 3 years after breaking the blockade, Kate Sullivan stood on a ridge overlooking New Seattle. The settlement spread below her in neat geometric patterns. Prefabricated domes gleamed in the light of a sun that was not Sol. Fields of crops stretched beyond the habitation zones. Green and growing, but not quite the right shade of green. The plants were hybrids, part earth biology, part native flora, adapted to soil that had never known terrestrial life. The sky was purple. Kate still could not get used to that. The atmosphere had more nitrogen and less oxygen than Earth. Breathable but different. The mountains in the distance were too sharp, too angular. Their peaks still showed signs of volcanic activity. But it was home. 17,000 people called New Seattle home now. 3 years of backbreaking work had turned an empty world into something living. Governor, we have an incoming transmission from Earth. Danny Price appeared beside her. Priority channel. Kate followed him back to the settlement's command center. The building was a converted cargo module from one of the colony ships. Functional but cramped. One day they would build proper government buildings. One day they would have the luxury of aesthetic considerations. Today they were still focused on survival. The transmission was already queued. Kate recognized the face immediately. Admiral Jake Morrison looked older. The weight of command showed in every line of his face. He had aged more in 3 years than in the previous 15. Governor Sullivan, I wish I had better news. Jake's voice came through with a slight delay. The Council has declared humanity a rogue civilization. They are demanding we abandon all colonies outside Sol and return to our home system. If we refuse, they are threatening military action. Kate felt her stomach tighten. Can they enforce that threat? The Council has millions of ships across thousands of worlds. We have 300 warships and 17 colonies scattered across 14 star systems. Mathematically, they can crush us without breaking a sweat. Kate leaned against the console. So why have they not already? Jake smiled, but there was no humor in it. Because we are not the humans they remember. In 3 years, we have accomplished what they said was impossible. We have colonized worlds they could not detect. We have developed technologies they do not understand. And every time they have tried to stop us, we have made them pay for it. He pulled up a star map that appeared on Kate's screen. Blue dots marked human colonies. They were scattered across a volume of space that would have taken the Council centuries to settle. Humanity had done it in 3 years through sheer desperate determination. But we cannot win a direct war. Jake's voice grew serious. We need to be smarter. We need to make ourselves too valuable to destroy and too costly to ignore. How? Kate studied the map. We are outnumbered and outgunned in every possible metric, but we have something they do not. Innovation. In the last 3 years, human scientists have made breakthroughs in propulsion theory, in weapons technology, in medical science. Advances the Council has not seen in centuries. Their civilizations are old, Kate. They are stagnant. We are still growing. Still changing? Still pushing boundaries. Kate understood immediately. You want to sell our technology, not sell. License, make humanity the galaxy's premier source of cutting-edge science. Let them come to us. Let them need us. It is harder to destroy a species you depend on, and if they refuse to trade with us. Jake's expression hardened. Then we make sure that trying to remove us costs more than tolerating us. Every colony has been designed with defense in mind. Every settlement can withstand a siege. We will not win by being stronger. We will win by making victory too expensive. The transmission ended. Kate stood in the quiet command center processing what she had just heard. War was coming. Not the quick, decisive war of conquest. A long, grinding conflict of attrition and survival. The Council would try to starve them out, to isolate them, to make the cost of freedom higher than anyone could bear. She walked to the window and looked out at New Seattle. Children played in the central square. Their laughter carried on air that tasted wrong to anyone who remembered Earth. Farmers tended hybrid crops with tools that had been improvised from whatever materials were available. Engineers worked on expanding the power grid using technology that had been cutting edge 3 years ago and was already obsolete. These people had left everything behind. They had crossed the void between stars to build something new, and now that new life was threatened by the same people who had tried to cage them in the first place. Kate activated her communicator. Danny, get me the Colony Council. Emergency meeting in 1 hour. What should I tell them? Tell them we have decisions to make about our future. Tell them the Council is coming. Tell them we need to prepare for war. War, Governor. Danny's voice held shock. We are farmers and miners and families. How can we fight the Council? The same way we survived the journey here. The same way we turned a barren rock into a living world. We improvise, we adapt. We refuse to quit. The Colony Council met in the largest dome. 23 people who had been elected to represent New Seattle's population. They were not politicians. They were ordinary people who had volunteered to take on extra responsibility. A former teacher, a mining engineer, a medical technician, a botanist, people who had skills the colony needed, but who had also shown leadership when it mattered. Kate stood before them and explained the situation. The Council's ultimatum, the threat of military action, the need to prepare defenses. She watched their faces as the reality sank in. Fear, anger, determination, all the emotions that came with being told your home was under threat. What can we do? The question came from Carl Bennett. He had been a construction foreman on Earth. Now he coordinated all building projects for the colony. We have no warships, no orbital defenses. We are sitting targets. We fortify. Kate pulled up plans that military engineers had sent from Earth. Underground bunkers, anti-ship weapons, shield generators, everything they would need to make New Seattle a hard target. It will not be enough to stop them, but it will be enough to make them think twice. What about evacuation? Linda Martinez had been a teacher. Now she ran the colony's education program. Should we prepare to abandon the settlement and go where? Kate's voice was gentle but firm. Every human colony is facing the same threat. Running just means dying tired. We stand and we fight because that is what humans do. The Council voted unanimously to begin fortification. Within hours, the entire colony was mobilized. Mining equipment was repurposed to dig bunkers deep into the bedrock. Fabrication facilities that had been making housing components switched to producing weapon systems. Everyone who could hold a tool was put to work. Kate walked through the settlement as it transformed from a peaceful colony into a fortress. She saw families working together to build defensive positions. She saw children too young to help watching with wide eyes. She saw determination on every face. These people had not come all this way to give up without a fight. A week later, the first Council ship appeared in orbit. It did not attack. It simply watched, a silent threat hanging over the colony like a sword. More ships arrived over the following days. A blockade forming slowly and inevitably, but supplies kept coming through. Human ships dodged the blockade using routes and vectors the Council could not predict. They were smaller and faster. They could hide in asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres. They took risks no sane pilot would consider. And they kept New Seattle supplied. Kate received reports from other colonies. New Portland was under similar blockade. New Boston had fought off an attempted landing. New Chicago had destroyed a Council scout ship that got too close. Across 14 star systems, humanity was digging in and preparing for a siege. Jake had been right. They could not win a direct war, but they could make the cost unbearable. Every colony the Council tried to remove would require a full military operation. Every attack would result in casualties. Every victory would be Pyrrhic at best. And while the Council committed forces to removing human colonies, those same colonies were becoming economically valuable. Human technology was finding its way into black markets across Council space. Species that resented Council control were making contact with human traders. The underground economy was growing and humanity sat at its center. Kate stood on her ridge again and watched the Council ships in orbit. They were there to intimidate, to remind humanity that they were powerless. But Kate saw something different. She saw ships that could be elsewhere, resources being wasted on a blockade that could not stop determined humans. Power being tied down when it could be used elsewhere. The Council had tried to bury humanity. They were learning the hard lesson that humans do not bury easily. Instead, they dig themselves out. They adapt. They survive. They thrive. And sometimes when you try to keep something contained, you just make it angry. Part 5, 10 years after breaking the blockade, Ambassador Lisa Hayes stood before the Galactic Council again. The chamber had not changed. The same polished stone floors, the same shadowed ceiling lost in darkness, the same 47 species sitting in judgment. But everything else had changed. Lisa was not asking for permission this time. She was delivering a message. High Arbiter Veln sat in his elevated position. His crystalline body refracted the chamber lights into familiar rainbows. When he spoke, his translator rendered the words in that same emotionless English. Ambassador Hayes, you requested this session. Speak. Lisa smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. 10 years ago, you banned humanity from the galactic community. You declared us too volatile, too dangerous, too young. You confined us to our home system and threatened us with destruction if we dared to expand beyond it. Your species violated that agreement. A Thon speaker interrupted with multiple mouths speaking in harmony. You broke the quarantine. You established illegal colonies. You attacked Council vessels. We defended ourselves. Lisa's voice was firm. When you tried to forcibly remove us from worlds we had settled, we fought back. When you blockaded our supply routes, we found new ones. When you declared our colonies illegal, we declared your authority invalid. The chamber erupted in protests. Representatives from dozens of species voiced their outrage. But Veln raised one crystalline hand and silence fell. You cannot simply declare Council authority invalid. Veln's translated voice remained flat, but Lisa detected something underneath. Concern, perhaps, or fear. The Council has governed this galaxy for 50,000 years. And in those 50,000 years, how many new species have you allowed to join? Lisa let the question hang in the air. How many civilizations have you discovered and welcomed? The answer is 3. 3 new species in 50 millennia. Do you know why? Because you do not want competition. You do not want change. You have built a comfortable empire where nothing ever threatens your dominance. This is outrageous. A Preeth representative leaned forward. Her ancient eyes narrowed. We have welcomed species that prove themselves worthy. You have welcomed nothing. Lisa's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. You have created a galaxy of stagnation. You control all the habitable worlds. You monopolize all the trade routes. You force every new species to either submit completely or be banned entirely. There is no middle ground with you. No compromise. Submit or be crushed, and yet you were not crushed, Veln observed. Despite our efforts, humanity persists, Lisa nodded. Because humanity refused to play by your rules. We found worlds you overlooked. We developed technologies you dismissed as impossible. We built trade networks with species you consider beneath your notice. And most importantly, we refused to stop growing. She activated a holographic display. It appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a map of explored space. Blue markers indicated human colonies and outposts. There were hundreds of them scattered across a volume of space nearly a tenth the size of Council territory. In 10 years, we have established 463 colonies. Our population outside Sol now exceeds 2 billion. We have trade agreements with 17 non-Council species. Our technology is in high demand across the black markets you pretend do not exist. Our economy is growing at a rate you have not seen in your civilizations for millennia. Illegal colonies, the Thon speaker insisted. Unauthorized trade. Stolen technology, Lisa laughed. It was a cold sound in the vast chamber. There is nothing illegal about settling worlds you never even surveyed. Nothing unauthorized about trading with species who are not council members. Nothing stolen about technology we developed ourselves. You do not own the galaxy no matter how much you pretend you do. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Lisa could see the calculations happening behind alien eyes. The council had tried to contain humanity for 10 years. They had failed at every turn. Blockades did not work because human ships were too fast and too unpredictable. Military action was too costly because every colony fought back. Economic sanctions were meaningless because humanity had built its own economy outside. Council control. What exactly do you want, Ambassador Hayes? Veln's question broke the silence. Recognition, Lisa said simply. Acknowledge that humanity exists. Acknowledge our right to settle unclaimed worlds. Acknowledge our sovereignty over the space we have already colonized. You do not have to like us. You do not have to trade with us. But you do have to accept that we are not going away. And if we refuse, Lisa's smile widened. Then we continue what we have been doing. We continue expanding into the spaces you have ignored. We continue offering alternatives to species tired of council restrictions. We continue being the one growing dynamic force in a galaxy that has been static for thousands of years. Eventually, we will be too large to ignore, too interconnected with the galactic economy to isolate, too powerful to threaten. She paused, letting her words sink into the ancient minds around her. Or you can recognize us now, establish formal relations, benefit from human innovation and trade. The choice is yours, but make no mistake, humanity is no longer asking for permission. We are informing you of reality. The chamber erupted again. Arguments broke out between different species. Some called for immediate military action against all human colonies. Others argued for economic warfare. A few suggested that maybe recognition was the least bad option. Lisa waited patiently. She had said what she came to say. The rest was up to them. The council will need time to deliberate. Veln finally spoke over the chaos. We cannot make such a decision without proper consideration. Of course, Lisa kept her voice gracious. Take all the time you need. We will be here. Growing, building, expanding. And when you are ready to accept the new reality of this galaxy, we will be happy to establish formal relations. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. That title you gave us 10 years ago, the rogue civilization, the banned species, the ones declared unworthy. We have decided to embrace it. Humanity is building something new. Not a council, not a democracy of stars. We are building an empire. Our empire, and we are inviting anyone tired of council stagnation to join us. You cannot seriously expect. A Velkari representative began. We do not expect anything, Lisa interrupted. We simply do. That is the difference between humans and the council. You spend centuries debating. We spend that time building. And now, if you will excuse me, I have 17 trade negotiations to attend and 3 new colonies to survey. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the council descended into arguments and recriminations. But it did not matter. The decision had already been made. Not in that chamber, but across hundreds of worlds where humans had planted flags and declared independence. Admiral Jake Morrison waited outside with an honor guard. His uniform was crisp, his bearing military, but his eyes held warmth when he looked at Lisa. How did it go? Lisa grinned. They hate us. They fear us. And they are going to have to recognize us whether they want to or not. We won, Jake. Humanity won. Jake looked up at the alien sky, at stars that had once been forbidden to his species. No, Lisa, we did not win. We are still fighting, still building, still proving ourselves. But that is fine. That is what humans do best. What is that? We rise. Jake's voice was firm. No matter how many times they knock us down, no matter how many obstacles they put in our way, we rise. They banned us from the galaxy, so we built our own empire. And we are never stopping. Lisa nodded. Around them, the alien station continued its ancient routines. Thousands of species going about their business. But now humanity was part of that business. Not as supplicants, not as junior members, as equals, as a force that could not be ignored. Somewhere out there, human colonies thrived. Human ships explored. Human determination pushed ever outward into the unknown. The Galactic Council had tried to contain them. Instead, they had created something the galaxy had not seen in 50,000 years. a species that refused to accept limits. They walked through the station together, Lisa and Jake, the two humans who had stood in the council chamber 10 years apart. Once to be rejected, once to deliver an ultimatum. The journey between those two moments had cost lives, had required sacrifice, had demanded everything humanity could give, but it had been worth it. Behind them, the council continued to debate. Ahead of them, human civilization spread across the stars like wildfire, and in the vast darkness between worlds, something new was being born. Not a council, not a federation, an empire built on human determination and watered with human blood. The Galactic Council had banned humanity, had tried to bury them, had declared them unworthy of joining the galactic community. Humanity had risen again, had built something new from nothing, had proven that being banned was not an ending but a beginning, and the empire they built would echo through the stars for 1,000 generations to come.